Content disclaimer. The views expressed in this video are solely those of the host, collaborator, and contributor and do not necessarily represent the views of Royal Productions OWC LLC. We encourage diverse perspectives and open dialogue. If you have any concerns, please contact us at info@royalproductionsowc.com. Thank you for being a part of the RPOWC community. Greetings, Galaxians. Thank you for returning for another episode of the Hybrid Files Commodification of Families. I hope so far you've been enjoying the series. I hope you're sharing it with friends. I hope you've subscribed to the channel. And I hope that you are ready for some new opinions about what I think about commodification of the American and the American ideas and how we relate to each other and how everything in America is up for sale because you are sold and you are sold. But thank you for joining me tonight. So, right, I've been reading this book called Rethinking Commodification, and it does have a chapter in there for commodifying family relations, but again, I want to diverge from that. I encourage you to go read that book. But I also want to talk about, I have a perspective on where the nuclear family is a product. Actually, it's people think the nuclear family is something that we naturally do as a human as a human species, and we actually that's not actually the inception point. I think we were first nomadic because you follow food. Everything is about your survival behavior, what you do to survive, what's going on in your in here, and what drives your survival behavior, your survival instincts, and you follow the food. We first followed food, and then we grouped together according to following food and all the psychology and the of self and telling stories and going out coming back from a fresh hunt and having that be a bonding experience, right? And it was not only about the people who you were blood related to, it was also about the people who you hunted with. It was also about the people who you experienced a certain event with when you were nomadic, when we were nomadic as a species, right? When we were nomadic. That created a sense of connection, a sense of bonding, but it involved more than three people or more than four people, right? Because the nuclear family, as America has defined it, is mother, father, sister, brother. That's it. That's the nuclear family right there, right? In America, compared to certain other specific cultures, the grandparent gets shipped somewhere because it's about the mother. I mean, the father, the mother, the sister, and the brother. That's the nuclear family. That's a product, right? And so I'm bringing this up today to kind of give us, I don't know, inspire some type of different thinking on that, even though there has been some different thinking. I mean, the 60s happened, right? Feminism is a thing. Civil rights is a thing because of things happening in the space of America, right? And us relating. We don't move around like nomads anymore. There was a thing called farming that happened. You instead of following your food, you made food stay in one place, and then you started doing your human thing around that one resource. It didn't move, so you didn't move. And that created a different psychology, a different type of conditioning, and the bonding didn't stop. It just adjusted to a different way of relating. And now you have a wisdom built around this one stationary space, this one stationary geographical place that feeds you, and that that kind of inspiring, for lack of a better word, that kind of like inspired you to build shelter surrounded by this central resource that you've cultivated literally for yourself and your loved ones, and maybe other people who you are bonded to because of circumstance, right? You get tribes, right? And those tribes develop their own origin story. They develop their own self awareness, their self concept, their self identity, their own community, which is a tribe now. And you have other people, other humans in the space outside of that immediate community, building their own identity and their own origin stories and their own self awareness, self concept, self identity, and how they bond with each other. Some a little bit more aggressive than others, some more darker than others. And I'm talking about phenotypes, I'm talking about mindsets and perception of the world. You got dark and light, everything is dual here, you know. But for the most part, there was no ultimate overall destruction of the thing in the environment. Everybody was fine with moving according to what nature says how you move. You reflect nature. You see yourself as fitting into nature, not nature being something that you have to conquer and destroy, or conquer and see as an obstacle, as a problem, and not as a healthy challenge that you understand the oscillation between you and nature, and it's not something that you see as a what do they call it, as a foregone conclusive enemy, but something that you problem solve about, right? Not a problem that is literally against you per se, but something that you're in an oscillation with, an oscillating relationship with, right? In the conversation about relationships, that's a relationship, your relationship with the environment, and you develop certain psychological conditioning because of this environment, whether it's a swamp environment, plains environment, heavily treed environment, a beach environment. There's different things that condition your psyche depending on the environment that you're in, and it creates these bonds because you have these common experiences. And those things are very powerful. And they don't necessarily bond people who are blood related. Hence, you get men, women making babies. They're not men and women who make babies who couple with each other. They're not blood related to each other necessarily. I know that exists. But for the most part, it bonds people together who aren't blood related, and then they create blood related relations. But they also have developed a certain dynamic in and amongst themselves, with others in the vicinity of the space that they occupy, and with the space that they occupy. They've created this bond, this event, this common experience, and it creates a bond that people will equate to family. People really do believe that the American product of nuclear family is a real thing that everybody follows and has followed. And that is not the case. We were nomads that followed food. And then we got the idea, due to circumstance and human ingenuity, why follow food? Let food stay stationary. We corral food and have it come to us, and we keep it in one place, and we build and we readjust our psychological mindset because this does not move. Our food resource does not move. We build our shelter according to this food resource that does not move. Boom. Right? Because moving around was a thing. Do you know that affects your psychology and how you bond with people when you're constantly moving around and you never settle anywhere? There's a different psychology. You don't need therapy. You don't need who am I. You don't get neuroses because one, your survival instinct is sharp as the sharpest knife in your what is it, quiver. Your survival instinct is as sharp as the circumstances you have traversed, right? And you got to tell somebody. I mean, you're a human being. And to be is to communicate and to interact and say, hey, this is what happened to me, blah, blah, blah. You story tell. You come back from of an experience that you've collectively experienced with other people, and you come and you go tell the people who weren't there, and you bond over these stories, and you create bonds, and sometimes those bonds are very deep and they're very strong, and it can feel like family. That nuclear family product, not a real product. Not a product that was initially made. That product was built after a world war, and it wasn't even real at the time of advertising. What was real at the time of advertising, given the reality of racism, given the reality of slavery and all of this, all of that, that's a different conversation. I don't want to complicate it, this conversation about commodification of family with that right now. That's a whole expansive conversation. I don't. It's a lot. But given all of those realities, before the war, World One, before winning that war, family compounds in rural America was a thing. And it wasn't just father, mother, sister, brother. It was father, mother, sister, brother, grandparents, aunt, uncle, because uh, the woman who wasn't a woman at first when you got a child at 12, because if she bleeds, she breeds. So that could be 12, that could be 11, could be as early as 10. You got this 30-year-old, 25-year-old, you making babies for the rest of your life. And the reality was they didn't leave off that farm. That woman, that child who, that's the rite of passage of becoming a woman at 10 to what, 20, you having kids. You don't move off the farm. You don't go nowhere. Your farm is your life. The family compound is your life. Uh, Sustaining this life on this village is your life. You don't go nowhere. You go to church. You can do that. But the church is local, right? And so this is what's going on before the war. People have become agrarian, not nomadic. So they're having different experiences, conditioning their psychology of what a family is. But now you have this war going on, right? And I think the Dust Bowl happened too. I got to look that up. But the Dust Bowl happened, and World War One happened, and there was uh, to keep a family farm was not the easiest thing to do at that time, because if war affects economies, it makes war robber barons, you know, rich. It makes warmongers rich. It makes opportunists rich. It makes families like the Rockefellers rich. It makes people who are eagle-eyed at the idea of, hey, human catastrophe is actually an opportunity. That's actually something of a mindset in America for those who are in the business of capitalism. Crash, that's an opportunity for making money. Let's make money off of a misery that everybody is suffering from or experiencing at this time. That's not an opportunity for bonding, that's an opportunity to make money, right? So war, an opportunity to make money. And after the war, you have to sell people something. They are on a high. That's an opportunity. We won. That's, hey, we can make money off of this good feeling. Come on now. And we can make more money if people weren't so attached to these large plots of land with family. Let's break this stuff. We want that land. That's one of the reasons. We want the land that your family has occupied. We want that land, especially if you're a marginalized group. Like black people lost their land left and right, left and right. Some black people are very savvy and could keep that shit, and they got the teeth to fight whatever they needed to fight. But that wasn't a lot of them. A lot of them got taken advantage of, hoodwinked, bamboozled. Sometimes the area that they were living in, the law said, "Nah, fuck you. Uh, that shit's ours. Ultimately, you don't really belong here anyway. We only brought you over here and over, uh, quote unquote, bred you for our benefit. It wasn't for yours. You are in our eyesight still cattle talking. You a cow talking. You a pig talking. You a donkey talking. We don't regard you as people. That stuff that we're quote unquote entertaining that you get to have, we gonna take that. That's ours, right? So you got after World War I, you got boomers to be created because feeling good. What do people usually do when they feel good? They either drink, they fuck, they drink, they fuck, and they make babies. They drink, they fuck, and they make babies. What else you doing? What do you think is happening um during World War I? Not everybody is being an innovator. People are regular people, and they do what regular people do in times of peace. What you think they doing? They making babies. And you don't make I mean, you make babies the same way you think you make babies on a farm, but now you in this one household that's part of a neighborhood who you don't know anybody. This is not the neighborhood is not made up of people who you are blood related to. This neighborhood is not made up of people who you know. They're made up of other people who have come from a war. They may have a common war experience. The men may have a common war experience, and the women are just there to cater to the men, right? And what's coming out now in therapy sessions is that that wasn't the greatest experience for a lot of people. You know, majority of people are not happy with what they live through, or they accept, they have accept the normalization of dysfunction, and so they wouldn't pipe up about it if even if you ask them. Oh yeah, I mean that was, I mean the fact that he only hit her like twice a year, so he's a good man, Savannah. He's a good man. So I mean, if that's what your conditioning is, of course it's like, well, then you only hit me twice, so twice a year. But you'll have you as a family and two other families down the block. Or the running joke is, oh, I'm going to get a pack of cigarettes and some milk and never come back. That happened too. That happened a good number, right? Because something about it, with regards to, there was a reality that just wasn't spoken about, and that was the relationship between men and women, and people are, because there was a few who had a real love match. There's like a finite number of people who might have had a really good love match. That wasn't the majority of the experience. The majority of people wasn't having that experience. Women were property of men, considered to be children, couldn't be trusted with their own money, had to be dictated to, had to have an allowance. You are to stay in the house, never to leave the house. Hey, we got this captive market that we can advertise to. Hey, the housewife needs it easier. Let's sell her this. 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 Black people don't even come into the lexicon of, hey, they got money too, right? That's why they made their own stuff. That's why everybody says we should go back to that and segregate and all that stuff. That was out of a necessity. But capitalism is not going to let that stand. The whole idea that America has about picking yourself up by the bootstrap, that's a whole ass lie. No institution can make money off of you if you're able to take care of yourself. If I'm able to grow my own food and build my own shelter, devoid of regulations, because Wild Wild West Gold Rush, people made their own houses. There was no regulation. You could make your own house. People want to go back to that. Stay out my shit. Let me find some land and go, make my own shit. I know I'll be on my own for the most part, but I can do that. People want to go back to that now. They want to go back to where I can go find the land, go out and just put one foot in front of the other and say, "Ooh, look at this patch. This is good. Yeah, this is nice. This is nice. This is nice." And go and pull some trees down, make a shelter, start farming some shit, put some seeds in the ground, and that's your shit. Who needs to go to work? You're fed and you're sheltered. Who needs to go to work? Rockefellers wanted labor because they wasn't going to do that. You think the Rockefellers are going to do factory work? The Rockefellers ain't going to do factory work. What they're going to do is they're going to create a system in which is attractive to you and convince you that the nuclear family is the most natural thing to you. And, before kids were seen and not heard, and now you got this whole new permutation called a teenager. Now, what the fuck are you supposed to do with those motherfuckers? That's new. Teenagers are new. That's a new thing. Before they were labor, sanctioned labor. Shut the fuck up. I am to see you. I am not to hear from you. Right? And then you got Dr. Spock saying, well, give them what they want. Don't deny your child. It's damaging if you say no to your child. Blah, 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 blah. Give them what they want. Make them create a spoiled ass brat. You get boomers who don't care about nobody but themselves. That's what you get. But that was the product. That was the product that was sold. That's the American dream. Father, mother, sister, brother. That's the American dream. You got a set. Some people did a whole bunch of sets. Right? Some people had it good, but it wasn't everybody because you can tell what was not by looking at what people are talking about now in therapy, by the psychological fallout about what was and what was actually the good thing and what was actually not the good thing. Right? And so now you get this fallout called the 60s because everybody has this internal grumblings going on and nobody really understands their teenager, their child anymore. You got these boomers who literally are like, well, what the fuck are you complaining about? What the fuck are you complaining about? We got it good. We got a nice house, in a nice neighborhood. Your father's got a nice job. I got nice, convenient appliances, and this is all we need because that's what advertising says, and that's what's real. And the church is pretty much integral in that. God has blessed you. Keep it up. Don't break from that. Church used to be about, okay, the church was kind of involved in the family compound, and they were like, there's a little schoolhouse and you got your kids educated for the most part and learn the basics, but they were expected to go back to the farm. That whole education and that work ethic is for a farm. You work that hard for yourself. You don't work that hard for somebody else. You work that hard for yourself. You go to school to bring back the benefit of education for the family compound, for the family farm. You don't give that benefit to somebody else's family and for their shit. That's slavery. You don't want to do that. That's relegated for black people. or for anybody, for black people or anybody they bring over here for cheap labor, including Asians and Indians and the uh, Latino, Hispanics, indigenous. If they felt that, like, I don't know why people want to shit on indigenous people like that, but not, like, I don't get that. It's like they just were here first, and I guess they have to be punished for that. But that's a whole different conversation. But I'm bringing this up because this is the nuclear family is not a thing. Now you got people trying to find family the way family used to be found, which is through nomadic behavior, looking for food and resources, and you bond over an experience. There's nothing more bonding than a very intense human experience that you literally go together. You go through together. That's why LGBT community has a community the way they have a community. That's why soldiers have the community the way they have a community, because there was an intense human experience that they all uh, experience, and they have a bond, and that bond is a family bond. I mean, that's what family is the nature of the bonding to another human being. But when you start doing curated ideology stuff, it's not natural. And your core self knows this is not natural. That's why you got the 60s. Because something about that suburban life living and all of that advertising that said this is what you want, this is what you want, this is what you want, something about that did disturb the internal spirit. People who were very like, this doesn't work. And then you got a disgruntled teenager that you didn't have before, because before, uh, children were to be seen and not heard. They were be to, they were to be used for labor. Shut the fuck up. Go do what I tell you to do, and you know, and just exist in the space. I'm not, it's some of it. I mean, there are people with experiences that are good, but that is not, those experiences, those anecdotal experiences, doesn't overall explain why there's such a psychological fallout in the 60s, disgruntled teenagers, just disgruntled psychologies, neuroses that people in a nomadic experience probably didn't have. They had it in a different way because, oh my god, I gotta find food, the weather is becoming very unlivable, we have to move, our food has disappeared from this space, we have to move. It might have been the anxiety over that, but for what we got, there's just a psychological, there's just weird psychological fallout that doesn't make sense, that's not really tied to anything that's real, except for what we have created based off of an ideal that we have been sold about the nuclear family. And there's dysfunction in it because there's no real connection, because people have only done it because that's what they were told to do. The church tells you that's what you're supposed to do. Your society tells you that's what you're supposed to do. The society tells, "Hey, man, this is how you going to be a man, because you're not going to fight the top man. Try and get your shit. You can squash that right now. You're not fighting me. I'm a Rockefeller. You ain't you no. Squash that. Go get your chick. Go concentrate on chick shit and create a nice little nuclear, a nice little shiny package so that you won't be looking at me and looking at my throat trying to get my shit, because you ain't gonna get my shit. If I have to turn you around and make you confused and turn you all the way upside down psychologically, so where you don't know who the fuck you are, or what the fuck you are, or why the fuck you are, or what type of purpose you got, that's what I'm gonna do, because you ain't coming from my neck getting my shit. In fact, all this shit is my shit. You are at the behest of me, not the other way around. So you create a nuclear family product. So people can be focused on that, especially specifically men can have something to do and feel that they have a purpose, because the natural thing for a man to do is to fight other men over resources. That's what's natural if we're going to be honest about it. That's actually what men are supposed to do. They're supposed to fight other men over resources. But then there's this group of men that know that they can't do that. Like, I'm not doing that shit. I'm not fighting that dude. So what can I do? So they get their minds thinking and say, how can I make friends and influence people? That's the modern way. But how can I psychologically beat this other man over the head without me physically having to do it? Because, come on, let's be real. Do you think a Rockefeller is going to get in a ring with a physically capable man and win a fight? If you are a man and you physically, you know you can't fight, but you know you smart, and that man may not necessarily be smart. Not to say that men who have physicality don't have a brain. It's just that there's some type of thinking there that I shall overcome this particular um, deficit within myself. I can't fight. I can't physically fight, but I can manipulate people. I can whisper here and whisper there and create chaos. It's a type of chaos where you tell untruths here and you manipulate people to go in. That's a skill set. To create chaos and division, that's a skill set. And those who can create chaos and division usually can create such a degree of chaos and division that they can abscond from those people who are literally tricked into that shit. They can abscond with their resources. And now, since possession is 9/10 of the law, what you gonna do about it? I don't fight you, but I've convinced people. I've made you so distracted with the this and sold you something that literally is breaking down in front of you, and you don't know how to control it. So you drink, or you cheat, or you build these false little fiefdoms in corporations, so that so you can don't have to be at home a lot, because you really don't like your family like that. I mean, they make you look a certain way because that's what society says you, and you're not gonna fight the top dude. You're not gonna fight these motherfuckers because they're gonna be the reason why your bread is buttered. So you're gonna capitulate. You're gonna bend the knee, okay? But that in that nuclear family, that reality of what's going on around it is making this not a truth. It's not an affinity. It's not organic. It's not authentic. It's something that has been curated because of advertising. Because when the advertising of the American Dream first came out, that wasn't a reality. Go buy a home in a neighborhood with people who you do not know, with people who you are not blood related to or you have no bond to. Just buy this house in this tract and develop neighbor relations. You might like them, you might not. They might be weird, they might not. Oh, wait. We have a common cause. We don't like black people. Yeah, we'll bond over that shit. Okay. Like, black people are in the throes of trying to, survive. So their psychological dynamic is different in that they have to always be focused on survival and what the environment is going to bring to them, even though they are standing still like this and you know, trying to have what is being told to them. This is what you have, especially black men who've come from the war as well. Went to the war, say, hey, this might get them the respect that they want. Oh, no, no, thank you for your labor, but you still ain't shit here. And then that psychological thing goes back into the nuclear family that you say that they're supposed to have. I mean, some of them still sharecropping, so that whole thing is like, this is not your shit. So they're dealing with a whole different set of psychological influences and conditioning and experiences that are creating different type of psychological fissures within their own uh, uh, geographical space. Which is why I said I don't want to address it here, because it's just an expansive conversation that's just gonna take a long time to get through. I only have a finite minute of time. I'm coming close to the end of the time, right? But I want you, like, I'm not disseminating this information as a person who knows everything. This is my observations. These are the conclusions I have come to after just consuming online content, going with my own experience as far as what my mother was born in 1930 in Mississippi, Natchez, Mississippi. So she has stories. So I listen to that, right? Some people have a whole generation between them, between people who were born in 1930 and 1960. There's like, okay, that's your grandmother. My mother, in the scheme of things, was supposed, maybe she was supposed to be my grandmother, not my immediate mother, but that did not happen. She was my mother. So the intensity of her experience and her psychological fallout of her experience being the darkest woman in her family in Natchez, Mississippi, before civil rights was a thing, is an influencer, right? Influences family, influence how you regard each other. All of that self concept, self awareness is not the same for that nomadic people get. And the worst thing that they're dealing with is, are we going to starve? And this weather, is it going to literally make us not have to, can't stay in this place? And that's stressful. That's the stressor. Not, oh, I got this. They might, in a nomadic place, depending on where they move to, they might find hostile bogies that are not part of their tribe or whatever, but it's not raised to the level where we're going to annihilate the whole human race. It's, yeah, we're going to lose some numbers, there's going to be some fighting, but there's like some spiritual governors in that, to like, okay, they have a whole different way of dealing with it. If you look at it anthropologically, there was a different, it's just different, different way of looking at life, a different mindset based on who was their shaman and what did that person foresee for their future. You should go this way, you should go that way. That's different. That's not like right now. We got therapists, we got neuroses, we got a big book that changes colors, of things that are psychologically wrong with human beings today due to the modern way that we civilized ourselves, because civilization and the whole idea of you got to keep the family together. But what is that? Because human beings are going to human no matter what the society says human beings should do, no matter what the society at large, the infrastructure, the hierarchy villainizes certain behaviors that human beings do naturally in order to create groups and community and cohesion and bonding and all of that stuff, which is what creates family in the first place, not necessarily romantic love, right? People think romantic love is what makes us. No, going through an intense experience as a group creates bonds that over time can be unbreakable. Ask a soldier. Some soldiers, a black soldier and a white soldier who on soil probably came into the Vietnam War being enemies, and then they come out and human things happen, and that shit goes out the door, and it's like, don't talk about this motherfucker right here. This is the motherfucker that saved me. So I don't want to hear shit about black people. I don't want to hear shit about black people anymore. I've had a different experience. It was an intense experience. This motherfucker, even though I was the bigoted asshole, this motherfucker saved my ass. And we don't do that no more. I ain't a bigot no more. Fuck you. Fuck you and your racism. Fuck you and your bigotry. That's a family. Not nuclear. Ain't shit based off a romantic love. But it's just as legitimate to call that man family. They've been through an experience nobody else, no other person, no civilian will ever understand or get. It's family. So, but that's just my opinion. You leave your opinion in the comments. Please remember to comment, like, and share. And remember, I'm always a planet away. If you want to engage with a fellow Galaxian, Enjoy your evening. Thank you for tuning in to the Hybrid Files, season four. I mean, episode four, season one, episode four, Commodification of Family. Stay tuned for another thrilling, enthralling episode. Next episode is if I am to. If I am to give you something to salivate over, it is a human body. So, you have a great evening and happy gaming.